This is the end. Are you ready to die?
We both know this isn't the end of me.
We are talking the movie The Immortal Wars. This one is written and directed by Joe Legion. Now this is essentially a low budget kind of X-Men style movie, and it takes place kind of at some point in the kind of near future where most of humanity have destroyed themselves through various kind of wars, etc. And there has the rise of this kind of like essentially mutants that call themselves deviants in this movie. So they basically, the remaining humans that are now divided up into sort of 10 separate countries, basically have these kind of like gladiatorial games that where they fight these kind of deviants with their special powers and etc. And that's the kind of the crux of the movie here. So what do we think about the Immortal Wars? So let's go with the positives first of all. I've got to say the actual sets here look like fairly decent. It's all kind of enclosed, shall we say, but there are some kind of nice set design here. I think that's quite good. There's plenty of action in this movie. There's a variety of different kind of fight scenes with a variety of different kind of like paranormal, supernatural, however you want to call it, sort of abilities and stuff like that. So that's kind of quite fun. You've got a few kind of names here that you're going to recognise: Eric Roberts, Tom Sizemore, Bill Obsteps Jr. I'm kind of struggling here. You may get the impression this movie I didn't think was the greatest. Let's start with right at the beginning of the film, the exposition dump that kind of gives you this setup about what's happening. I mean, that's not a great way to start a film to begin with, I don't feel, but it doesn't really even tell you what the deviants are. It says, oh, essentially they're not human, but it doesn't really give you much more information than that, unfortunately. So I felt that even the setup of this film was quite poor, because you don't really know, what's the sort of status quo here? Where are they, what if they're not human? What are they? Where have they come from, etc. So the setup isn't very good to start with. The next thing we'll talk about here is the lighting. Jesus, you can't hardly see anything in this film. I mean, it's so dark for the most part. It all takes place in this kind of like, well, the majority of the scenes going to take place in this kind of facilities. But it's so underlit. I mean, I'm guessing that's probably to hide the fact that there's obviously a set and things like that. This is why maybe some of the set dressing looks quite good, because you simply can't see a few feet in front of you. But it's really hard to kind of like sort of see what's going on, basically, because you just don't know. And it just kind of comes across as super kind of cheap. And there's poor editing, poor camera work. I mean, there are a few shots here and there that I think work. There are quite a few fight scenes here, but it's just a very sort of like low budget, hastily put together movie that is kind of not all that interesting. There's not really any sort of like characters that you sort of gravitate to. There's no world building to sort of speak of, so you really just aren't sort of buying into this kind of like this universe. Like I said, there are a few kind of elements here if you like a kind of a lower budget sort of superhero style movie, and there are a couple of like visual effects here and there. Although even that, I feel like they sort of, when we see scenes, there's kind of like video effects and kind of like flares on stuff that doesn't need to be there. It just makes what you're seeing on screen that much more kind of like confused and sort of convoluted. So ultimately, even I think there's very little redeeming features here. It's purely a thing if you're just like really into superhero films and you love low budget stuff, you may want to check it out. There are a couple of reasonable fight scenes, I suppose, but I'll give it a 3 out of 10. It really didn't blow me away, shall we say. Anyway, have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.